Hey guys, welcome to the Perdie channel. Matthew Perdie here. I have been in a bit of a head fog over the past week because of the news that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So I feel like I had to just completely pause pumping out content when this happened. And I just didn't want to say anything for a while that was, in a video format or make any long-form statements. I've had a few things to say here and there, but obviously it's a tragedy that words don't really do justice to describe the impact of. So I've known him for quite a while, since 2012. Where he messaged me to, he was expressing interest in hiring me because of my production work, and I was busy with another project. So, yeah, that was the first time he reached out to me. It was actually in an old Facebook message, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, that was the first time we had any sort of contact, and yeah, I mean, from there he kind of grew slowly over time, and I watched from afar as I ended up sort of growing in my role in a different way behind the camera, and he grew in front of the camera, right? So, gosh, it's so hard to come up with the right words to describe everything, but I do feel like I early on didn't really give him enough credit. I won't say I underestimated him, but I made fun of him a little bit here and there. Nothing horrid, but just, it's easy to be a sideline critic, right? It's easy to be a critic from the sidelines, and when someone's taking bold action, it's really easy to just kind of commentate and be a critic. But let's face it, he had more of an impact than most people will ever have in their lifetimes in the course of American history. And I feel a responsibility to talk about him a little bit and honor his memory, and just mention a few things that come to mind in mourning him. And yeah, I'm not really that great at this, so bear with me. This is kind of a new thing. This is actually the first time where I'm actually recording an episode, and it's just me. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I just didn't think I just wanted to be able to talk about Charlie Kirk freely. But yeah, he rose to the ranks, and I actually ended up working for Breitbart, from 2018, and he, I think we covered, I don't know if it was one of the Young Black Leadership Summits or if it was an actual TPUSA event, but it was one of the two, and it would be the beginning of a pattern of filming interviews with him every, I'd say, about 3-4 months or so for the next 7 years. And yeah, so I would be filming interviews with Breitbart, and he was always nice. He was always cool guy. He was one thing I could say, he was very focused on the mission, right? You can always tell that his mind was set to the task at hand, and I think his seriousness, which was very high, was a reflection of how the level of the threat that America faces. And there's few people in the conservative fight who I would say represented the level, who properly articulated the level of threat that America is facing, and took it with all seriousness. He understood how much was on the line, all the lives that were on the line, and all the souls that were on the line. So yeah, I'm kind of free-forming it here a little bit, but yeah, so I was driving into DC when I, quickly checked my text. I was stuck in traffic, and I saw a text from my parents saying that Charlie Kirk got shot, and I'm like, oh no. It's like you're surprised and you're not, right? I think a lot of conservatives know how that feels now, but yeah, so I just checked Twitter, of course, and the first videos I saw were like the further angles, like the super wide shot and like a wider shot, and I couldn't really see exactly what was going on, but eventually the video came that was the sort of the medium shot. It was pretty close up, and yeah, of course the question comes up, oh, is it AI? But it looked too raw for that. So once I saw the way he was shot, I didn't think really there was much of a chance, but I was praying and I was hoping, and I was really, really hoping he'd pull through, because I know he's a fighter, and if there was a way to pull through that was possible, he would have done it. And I guess God wanted to take him that time. So I was still driving when I found out that actually no, I found out later after I was driving that he had actually passed away. But I do remember, because of the graphic nature of the way he was shot and just where he was and how much blood was pouring out, I'm just thinking, man, he's gone. How do you survive something like that? And I just sort of had a moment where it was very just something I rarely do. I've done it maybe a couple times. I was just screaming at the top of my lungs in my car in frustration, because I knew this was like a no turning back point. I was just so enraged, that someone that represented free speech, probably, if you're going to pick someone from the conservative movement that most represented open dialogue, it was Charlie Kirk at this time, and they killed it. They killed the person that most represented dialogue. And yeah, so I was just in total fury. I'd screamed in a way I've never audibly heard before. It was surreal, but of course later found out he passed away and succumbed, and I really hope that he's in a better place right now. My prayers are directed towards that, and I'm a Catholic, so I hope that he was saved, and if not, I'm sending some prayers to make sure he gets out of purgatory much faster, because I'd want the same to be done for me, that's for sure. But you can't say that this sort of thing was not expected or coming, because even he understood that the assassination culture on the left was increasing. And we all saw Trump nearly be assassinated by, just missing by like a couple inches. Missing, the part of his head that would have taken him out. And yeah, I think we saw it. We knew this sort of thing was coming, and I just it's a totally different experience to actually watch it happen, and it's enraging. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry, because few emotions are more appropriate right now. I was just in this deep fog for a bit. I guess one of the first things that came to mind that I pushed out on X was that Charlie Kirk would not want conservatives to be silent in the face of evil and threats, and he would want us to be the opposite. He'd want us to talk. He'd want us to speak up. He'd want us to not allow ourselves to be self-censored, not self-censor people in fear of inconveniencing them. And I think that's something all of us need to do better, particularly me. I think for a very long time I thought, my role is just going to be behind the camera. I'm just going to film things and have what people are saying on camera speak for me in some respect. Let my work speak for me. And that is still very true. I do that. I love doing that. And it helps because I don't particularly enjoy being on camera doing this kind of stuff. But now I feel like I've got to step up more. I've got to put my 2 cents out there a little bit more. And I don't think I'm not trying to be anything big or anything. I just feel like sometimes there are times where I want to bring up points that I'm not really seeing too many people bring up. And, I think sometimes the talking points get a little repetitive online in our movement, and I just want to, talk about a few other things. But I feel like I'm more compelled now with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I feel responsibility to do more with my voice and to take more drastic action in the things that I do with things like this podcast, with Breitbart, of course, and with other projects I have going on. And I think that's something we all need to think about, is how can we all increase what we can do for our country. And there are a lot of different people with different talents, skills, abilities. Some people are like jack of all trades, and others are like more like me, like just like almost like autists that are like really good at like a couple things, and that's it. But we need to look to ourselves. We need to pray about what we can do to increase the reach. And I think even one basic thing all of us can do is speak up more, not allow ourselves to self-censor in the face of evil. And to remember that Charlie Kirk was assassinated largely because of his political beliefs, and partially due to his faith, of course, his Christian faith, but largely due to his politics. And I have seen a lot of concerning stuff online. This is one of the reasons why I held back from saying anything for a while on this. I wanted to see what the reaction was, see where people's heads were at. And I've seen a lot of weird Christian reels, like, dude bro Christian influencers, and they'll go saying things like, Charlie Kirk was not assassinated for his politics. He was assassinated for his faith in God. I was like, what? Like, and they go on, and they talk about, yes, he wants to be remembered for his faith, and that is true. And yes, you could say that faith is at the root of his political beliefs, for sure. But to say that it was just for being a Christian is not doing Charlie Kirk a full service, I don't think. And what I mean is, there's a reason why Trump was shot and Charlie Kirk was shot, and other conservatives have been killed by, rabid leftists. And it often has to do with their politics. And yes, faith is a role. And yeah, churches do get shot up, usually in random acts of violence or targeted towards a general group of people, but this was a targeted assassination. And Charlie Kirk was assassinated because he was effective at doing what he did, reaching the youth. And you look at the huge gain that Trump made in 2024 versus 2020 with the youth, and there's no question Charlie Kirk had a lot to do with that. Just from having open dialogue. And of course, TPUSA did a lot of phenomenal work on getting the vote out, activating young people on campuses and whatnot. So, but yeah, I'm a little frustrated because I've seen a lot of people trying to paint this as, well, it was just his Christian faith. It had nothing to do with politics. And I'm thinking, this was a guy who was dating a tranny, a furry tranny, or he had a furry fetish and all this weird stuff. And it's like, obviously he's a leftist. His family, associated people have said he's a leftist. The engraving on the bullet uses the word fascist. It's definitely a leftist trope. In so many ways, he's very obviously a left-leaning crazy person. Monster. This guy's a monster. And whoever knew about it is a monster too. Whoever knew about this in advance and let it happen, or was a part of organizing it, there needs to be justice for these people. But yeah, I'm just very frustrated because I've seen a lot of Christians kind of make this just about his faith, and it's just not. That's just not the reality of the situation. It's not, and I think I think it's very easy to go out into the streets and preach the gospel. I think you could. I mean, okay, maybe I'll say it's not very easy. It's easier to do that. You do have to deal with people kind of flipping a bird or being nasty and whatnot, but I think it's a lot harder to promote conservative values. And I take this from someone such as myself, who I've been in leftist Antifa protests multiple times, and I've been assaulted several times. Usually they don't know how to throw a punch, so it's not that bad. There was one instance where I was surrounded by, it was during the Black Lives Matter garbage, and I was surrounded by, I don't know, about 500 or 600 different activists. It was past midnight. I was live streaming from my phone. And Antifa was doing this thing where they were monitoring different news outlets, conservative news outlets, to see who was live and from where were they filming. And they tracked the Breitbart stream to my location. And I noticed that even though there were other people there filming, they kind of put the focus on me. They started saying, trying to remember the exact words. I just said, "Hey, you stop filming her," because I was filming. There was, I think there was about 4 black people that were holding hands, blocking BLM rioters and Antifa from the police, because at the time Antifa and BLM had broken down the barriers, and so there was a group of 4 black people kind of locking arms and standing, blocking them from the police. And they told me to stop filming one of the women there, and I was like, no, why? That's dumb. Like, what's the big deal? And then I noticed more and more attention was being brought to to my presence by the people around me, and more of them were coming after me, and the dudes were getting in my face, trying to slap the phone out of my hand and whatnot. And it started to escalate, so I'm like, you know what, I better start moseying out of here. So I just started, trying to calmly walk away and whatnot. And as I was doing that, there were people trying to kick me, sweep kick me, throw water at me, push me, whatever. I was just trying to keep it as low-key as possible, draw less attention. And as I was walking away, all of a sudden I heard, "Kill him!" And let's just say that was not fun. So yeah, I had to run for my life. I had to, I ran one direction. A bunch of them were starting to crowd around. So then I pivoted and ran as fast as I could out of there. And one of the protesters grabbed my shirt as I was running away. And it ripped like halfway off my chest. So I looked like a caveman. Meanwhile, this is happening all in front of the DC police. So the police were just watching this happen. We were right in front of the White House, right? So the police are just watching this happen. They're right there. And so I had to run away because I'm completely outnumbered. And I got to the end and, and listen, this was the kind of situation where the emotions were high. If I had fallen to the ground, I'd probably be dead by now. Now, thankfully, most of these protesters have their pants halfway down their ass, so they couldn't run very fast, except for a few of them. And but yeah, I got out of there, and I remember getting to the end of another police line, and I'm just looking at the police, and I said, like, why the hell are you guys just watching this happen? Like, why aren't you guys arresting these people? Like, what are you doing? And they just looked at me like this. Just a blank stare. And I'm like, oh my gosh. These people are afraid of the mayor. They're afraid to do the right thing. And while these police were afraid to do the right thing, Charlie Kirk was not. He risked his life, and he gave it up for our country and for God. And we all need to think about what we can do to increase our efforts. But that story is just to show you that, I've known about this sort of assassination culture for a while. And that's not a same level kind of a situation, obviously. But I'm very used to left-wing violence, and it is and has not been uncommon. It's been around for a long time. And it's been steadily getting worse ever since Trump jumped into the picture. So, yeah, I've just been trying to. My head's been in a fog, just kind of watching everything unfold and seeing what people are saying and reacting and how they're coping with things. There's been several types of leftist responses. There have been those that have been very unsympathetic. There have been ones who are celebrating his death. There have been ones that are just completely silent. And then, of course, there's people that are calling for more deaths and more assassinations. And well, let's just say that I'd say probably about half, more or less, Democrat voters are probably around that camp. From what it appears to me, I mean, I can't know that for sure, but it's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. We're at a point now where if you become effective on a mass scale, they want to kill you. They'd rather have us dead than have to debate us, than have to convince us, than have to convert us. And certainly it's an act of desperation by a lot of these far left-leaning lunatics. But they're going to do everything possible to. We just have to be ready, right? A lot of these people. There's been a massive sort of doxing spree that's been going on, which has been righteous and fantastic. It's about time that we took some action. But yeah, a lot of these people who've been going to social media and saying horrendous things, celebrating and cheering on Charlie Kirk's assassination. Just despicable people. Just totally insane. It's incomprehensible. I can't even understand people who think that way, but it's sick. And so they deserve to be pushed out of civil society, 100%. And the thing is, though, that these people that are losing their jobs over making these comments, celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination, these people are either going to kind of fall into the shadows, kind of, become more quiet, or they will become more radicalized. And I think we're going to see a lot of the latter. I think we're going to see a lot of people who maybe lose their jobs or friendships because they made horrible, horrible statements about Charlie Kirk's assassination. These people are going to get radicalized and they might become dangerous. And so we need to be ready to defend ourselves. We need to be, not just arming ourselves and concealed carrying safely, of course, but we need to be aware of our surroundings. We need to be traveling not by ourselves when possible, right? We need to sit at the corner table, the mafia table at restaurants and places. We need to be more aware of our surroundings. We have to train to get better with firearms. We need to train to get better with knowing when to fire. Because we need to survive this onslaught, right? And we need to be as fearless as possible. And part of being fearless is having the confidence to know how to fight back when you have to. And so I just think that we are all less vulnerable if we're all more talkative, if we are all more, if we speak up more collectively, then less of us stick out as potential targets for leftist lunatics. The safest thing, the best thing we can all do is to speak up in our workplace, in our families, with our friends, our social circles, and not cave an inch, not give an inch. We've, for too long in this movement, we have allowed leftists to go on saying crazy shit constantly in front of us and around us. And they get so emotional and so crazy about it that a lot of us conservatives have a tendency to just kind of retreat within ourselves or just not want to be bothered with it. But that time is over. The time for keeping your opinion to yourself is over. We can't do that any longer. We can't afford to. And so I still really feel like I haven't completely furnished my thoughts. I haven't completely put together all the thoughts I have about the assassination. It's just I'm still completely shocked by it. And I'm very livid, and keeping myself in check has been very hard. It's been very hard. But we have to keep fighting. And we have to do so 10 times harder than we ever have before, or we're going to lose this country. I've had some conservatives tell me that, they're looking at like leaving the country when things get crazy, and I just can't. I can't get myself to do that. This is my country, and I'm not moving a freaking inch for these freaks. I just, Charlie Kirk paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country, and we need to be willing to do the same thing for God and country. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility under God. It's the responsibility we have to our children, to all the coming generations after that. Because we are at a point now where we will determine whether the country survives or not.